Hello everyone, I'm Darren with VibeTheNook.com, and today I want to take a look at Star Fox 2. In 1993, the original Star Fox released for the Super Nintendo, and that was the first game to ever use the Super FX chip, which allowed the console to run full 3D polygonal graphics. And it also just happened to be a very fun game. I mean, flying around the Lilat system and hearing the sound of compressed gibberish from the other pilots was definitely the highlight of many a childhoods. And then the next game in the series to be released was Star Fox 64 in 1997. However, unknown to us at that time, there actually was a second Star Fox game that was planned to release for the Super Nintendo, but eventually got cancelled. In 1995, Star Fox 2 was about 95% complete. With consoles on the market like the original PlayStation and the Sega Saturn, Nintendo was concerned about how that game would be compared to other 3D games being released around that time, so they just decided to cancel it outright. And then in 2017, when Nintendo released the Super Nintendo Mini, Star Fox 2 was included, which gave the game its first official release. And nowadays you can play the game as a part of Nintendo Switch's online service. And after playing the game, it definitely is a very interesting part of Nintendo's history, but it's also very easy to see why they were concerned with releasing this game. After his defeat at the hand of Team Star Fox in the original game, Andross has returned to the Lilat system seeking revenge. Armed with a new armada and his own team of ace pilots, known as Team Starwolf, Andross has launched a full-scale invasion of the system. General Pepper of Corneria once again enlists the help of Team Star Fox to fight off the invasion. The story here isn't especially deep or elegant, and all it really does is provide some context for the action on screen, which is actually pretty normal for a Star Fox game. The graphics look pretty much the same as they did in the first game. These are some of the most rudimentary 3D graphics that you'll ever see, but that doesn't mean that they look bad. Actually, despite how basic everything is, this is still a very visually appealing game. Well, at least most of the time it is. The frame rate really struggles when too much is happening on screen at once, and even when the game isn't struggling to process everything, the frame rate is always just sort of choppy. And this is largely due to the technical limitations of the Super Nintendo, but the game never becomes unplayable because of it. The first Star Fox game had some great music that will get stuck in your head all day. Star Fox 2 has some pretty good music that you'll probably forget just as soon as you turn off your console. One of the things that made the first game so charming was all of the gibberish that would play anytime a character would speak. And that gibberish is back in the sequel, but it's nowhere near as cute as it was in the original. It just sounds like they didn't put as much effort into it this time around. The gameplay has a lot of evolutions over the first Star Fox game. The on-rails linear levels have been replaced with more open-ended objective-based missions. Star Fox 2 also adds a map of the Lilat system that shows the enemy's movements. You'll have to fly your R-Wings around the system to intercept Andross's armada and prevent it from reaching Corneria. If Corneria takes too much damage, it's game over. For the first time in the series, you actually don't have to play as Fox McCloud. He's just one of 6 playable characters. All 4 members of the original Star Fox team are playable, in addition to 2 newcomers, Miyu and Faye. The 6 playable characters fly one of 3 R-Wing designs, and each R-Wing design has its own unique stats and special abilities. At the start of the game, you pick one main pilot and one wingman. The wingman really just serves as your extra life. Once your main pilot and wingman have been shot down, it's game over. Fox and Falco both pilot the classic R-Wings from the first game. They also have equally balanced shield, flying speed, and laser charge speed. Peppy and Slippy fly R-Wings with a rounder shape, and they look like frogs while they're in their walker mode. These ships have a lot more shields, but they're also slower and take the longest amount of time to charge up their laser. Miyu and Faye have forked R-Wings, and they have the most amount of speed and the quickest laser charge, but the least amount of shields. Fox and Falco have bombs for their special ability. These can easily take out a large group of enemies or cause massive damage to a boss. Peppy and Slippy can recharge their shields, while Miyu and Faye have deflectors that make them immune to damage for a short amount of time. Each R-Wing has its own benefits and drawbacks, and they also provide a good amount of replayability. It's fun to replay the game with different pilot and wingman combinations and see what works out best for you. As Andross moves his fleet around the Lilat system, You'll need to take on several missions to thwart his plans. At the start of the game, Andross will establish bases that will periodically fire missiles at Corneria. He will also send out carriers that launch fighters at the planet. If these carriers get too close to Corneria, they'll use their big planetary guns against it. Most of the game is spent taking out missiles, fighters, and carriers that are headed towards Corneria. To take a carrier out, you'll first have to fly to it. Stuff will come at you while you make your approach, but it can mostly be ignored. Once you reach the carrier, you'll have to go inside and proceed through a level that's a lot more like something that you'd see in the original Star Fox. After that, you'll destroy the core and make your escape. And some carriers also have boss fights inside them that you'll have to beat before you can reach the core. Every once in a while, you'll be attacked by a member of Team Starwolf. When they attack, you'll have to fight them in an epic 1v1 dogfight. Between fighting off the carriers, missiles, and enemy fighters, you'll also have to eliminate all of the enemy bases. To take out a base, you'll first need to activate some switches on the planet's surface by standing on them in walker mode. Then you'll descend into the base itself and onto a level that works pretty much the same way as the ones that you go through when you go to destroy the carriers. While inside the carriers and enemy bases, you can switch to your walker mode at any time. While in walker mode, controls are slightly different. Pressing right and left on the D-pad will make you strafe, while the R and L buttons will rotate your R-wing. These controls feel a little bit clunky at first, but they're pretty easy to get used to. Once you do get used to them, you can easily circle strafe around enemies and avoid most damage. Each mission of the game is very short, and none of them take any longer than a couple of minutes to complete. Altogether, a single playthrough of this game takes less than an hour to finish. However, there is a lot of replay value here, and each playthrough will be slightly different. Andross will put his bases on different planets every time that you play, and using different R-wings will change the way that you approach each level. Replaying the game several times to see all the different planets and experimenting with different R-wings is a lot more fun than just playing through it once and never thinking about it again. Our final score for this game is going to be a 7 out of 10. The graphics are rough, but very impressive for the hardware it was intended for, and the gameplay is a lot of fun, but just nowhere near as much fun as the first game. If we look at the first two Star Fox games on the Super Nintendo, the first game is clearly much better, and I don't think that's just because of nostalgia. Star Fox 2 has a lot of very interesting ideas, but very few of them feel like an actual improvement over the first game. Thank you so much for watching this video, I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please let us know by giving it a thumbs up and tell us about it in the comment section down below. That kind of thing really helps us out a lot. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and check out vibethenook.com and all of our social media pages for more gaming related content. I'll leave links to all of that in the description down below. Thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you next time.